MossyBrain.
Are you human? Are you alive? If so, then creativity is inside you and it wants to come out and play. It's the MossyBrain Show, where creativity and fun collide with your hosts, Ben and Jess Ben. Hello, welcome to the MossyBrain Show.
We're here, the MossyBrain Show.
Us, you guys. Today we're going to be talking about limiting barriers to your creativity.
This is on the pathway to your most creative year yet. So we're going to get into that. We're going to have another flow jam session. Get the
juices flowing.
Yet again, we're going to start to engage our creativity and get our brains tuned in so that we can bring you the best podcast possible. But before we get into all that, let's just catch up on what's going on.
I haven't talked to you in forever.
I know.
It feels like we just need to catch up.
Yeah. What's funny is Jessica went out tonight. She went out with a friend of hers to a symposium discussion.
Sure. Yeah.
And I was here with the kids after dinner. And if there's any parents out there, those moments when you are alone with the children, it can feel like a great deal of time has passed.
Yes, in eternity.
And so now that she's home, it is time to catch up. Yesterday we had a great time together.
We did.
We went to a workshop on the Enneagram with AJ Sherrill. Wonderful. Really enjoyed it. For those of you who aren't familiar with the Enneagram, it's a
personality typing system.
Yes, personality typing system. It's got ancient origins, deals with 9 types that are kind of archetypes. But then there's all kinds of interconnections.
It was just cool to be in a room with a bunch of other people who wanted to learn about it. I think for us, at least, we have done a lot of individual research and reading and learning about it on our own. But just then to be with somebody who knows what he's talking about, and then to be with all these other people who were like, okay, here we are, teach us. It was cool. Really
a terrific time of learning and thinking and engaging with other people, and thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm glad we got to do it together.
Yeah, it was really good. On the way there, we were driving in the car. Do you remember what quote this was? What you said? Ben said something that was so quintessentially 7. He's a 7.
That's my Enneagram
his
type.
Called the Entertainer or the Epicure. And Enthusiast. And you said something about basically I would like to be laughing all the time.
Yes.
Or something about never stop laughing.
Yeah, that I want everybody to be laughing and I want to be laughing. And
it just sums it up.
There's no reason why we shouldn't be laughing at a given moment.
Yeah, so anyway.
If anybody out there likes to laugh, then you get a kindred spirit here with me. I love to laugh. I want everybody to be laughing. Doesn't matter if I am the source of their laughter. It's very possible that I could be. But
he's lived this in his life. I can vouch for him. I've known him since we were 18 years old, and there was certainly some times when it might have gotten him in trouble.
I like to say, I'm fond of saying that's this laughing business is kind of a offshoot of my main life mantra, which would be have a good time all the time. That's right. I don't see why anybody would want to have a different mantra.
Yeah.
But again, I'm viewing that through my lens.
That's right. And not everyone has the same lens. Some people like to feel all the other feelings too, and to sit with that.
Such as my wife Jessica, who is a 9 on the Enneagram. It is the crown of the Enneagram.
Well, some would say that.
I would say that. For sure.
It's the peacemaker, but it's at the top, and it tends to encompass aspects of all the other numbers, which I think everybody does, if we're honest and we look at it honestly.
Who is that? I don't know that you're going to know this, but who is that? There's a transformer or a robot who takes all the other robots and then builds a robot out of all the other robots into they're the king
a mega robot.
Mm-hmm. That's
super robot.
That is
I don't
how I
know
view the 9.
Who that is, but it feels right.
Mm-hmm.
That feels like an accurate.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm kidding. I am as a 9, I'm a little self-deprecating, so that definitely makes me uncomfortable when he speaks. So
calm like I see him.
Yeah, he's He's something. He's something special. Anyway, so yeah, we had a good time. That was fun to just learn and be with other people who wanted to learn and expand our knowledge.
You know, as far as MossyBrain goes, whether it's MossyBrain Show or MossyBrain.com, expect plenty of Enneagram content because we love the Enneagram. We think that it has a great place in your creative journey when you are able to learn about yourself and understand your motivations, because that's really what it boils down to. What they said in the workshop yesterday was that personality is each individual's method of coping with their life and their circumstance.
Yes.
So
yes.
it doesn't define you.
It's not who you are.
That's right.
It is the way that you've learned to cope with your world and you know.
It's like your Rosetta Stone. It's how you translate everything around.
Mm-hmm.
You filter through to understand it.
And so it's not meant to be a crutch. It's meant to be something that helps you see your motivations and your responses and habits and all those things in this light that says, this is what my tendency goes to, and now I can see it, and I can be aware of it, and then I can intentionally step back and choose my actions and say, I'm not limited by what my instinct might be or what I normally would do or my habits would be. I get to choose because I'm more than this. This isn't just who I am. This is just an aspect of me. So it was, I feel like, just encouraging, you know, that none of us are limited by these things.
And in regards to creativity, and we'll get into this later, it's not only about knowing yourself, but it's also about knowing and interpreting where other people are coming from. When you can understand where they are on the Enneagram and understand some of their motivations, it certainly allows for dialogue as opposed to conflict.
Mm-hmm. Some compassion, I think, and grace for where other people are coming from, because we tend to take things that other people do and project our own intention or even assume their intentions
and filter through our worldview.
Yeah, and we basically fill in whatever story we don't know. And the Enneagram helps us to see that everyone has a different perspective that they're coming from and motivations. And it helps you kind of offer grace to the people in your lives and say, this isn't you trying to attack me and hurt me. This is you coping with the situation, this relationship, or whatever it may be in the way that you know how to do.
As creatives and as we encourage each other, it's so important that we can find common ground, find understanding, and celebrate the differences as opposed to find division.
Yeah. And, you know, we talk about creative collaboration being really important in your creative life and in your journey. And so the Enneagram helps you understand that too, how you can work well with other people, with especially knowing, you know, personality types and how you might interact and who you work well with or what you need to make concessions for or how you need to meet somebody. So yeah, it kind of helps inform your collaborations and that journey and that process for you. So for us, it's about not just knowing yourself, but it's knowing the people around you and offering grace to yourself and to them. So
we'll get into that on another episode, and you can follow along on MossyBrain.com. Now,
it's time.
We're going to jump into Flow Jam. And we got to get some Flow Jam music going. Music. Oh, man.
Yeah.
The possibilities are endless.
Wait, no, that's different. That is not what I meant. It's something like that.
I think I've mentioned this already. I'm a musician. I love music. You love music too.
I do, but I'm not a musician.
But it's I'm walking through my life, scoring my life. Like, I'm seeing things, and I'm like, here's the music for that. And, you know, anything that's going on, it's like music accompanies it. So we got to get some music for this Flow Jam. And so I'm sure I'll get some music, and then as soon as I say this, then we'll drop in some sick beats.
Insert here.
Yep. So that's on its way. It's a necessity because the Flow Jam is like the event. We need some music.
Flow Jam is basically a creative exercise that we try to do every episode to get our creative juices flowing, to start thinking outside the box, thinking in creative ways.
Engaging those neurons.
Yeah. Just firing.
Yep.
So
today we're gonna do a creative story exercise. So we each have some story elements. We each have two separate story elements, and we haven't shared them with each other. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna both say our story elements, and then together we're going to on the fly here, just off the top of our little noggins, we're going to come up with a story. And it doesn't matter if it's good. It doesn't matter if it's bad. It doesn't matter if it's weird. It doesn't matter if it's scary.
Or all of the above.
But that's what we're doing.
Yeah,
We're coming up with a story. And, Hollywood, if you're listening, this is our story. We want credit when the movie is released. Just
We're
FYI.
producers.
That's right.
Okay, so I have 2 story elements.
So which story elements do you have?
I have fossil
Fossil?
and I have saboteur.
Oh, I love saboteur.
Saboteur.
I love Listen, guys. The saboteur. Key element in life, in fiction, in just that you're always aware of the possible saboteur. Not that you're fearful, but just recognize what an intriguing development. The saboteur.
And couldn't it even be an event or something rather than just a person?
And you're gonna learn this about me, friends, over the course of time. That I am, without doubt, a wealth of useless information. And I was informed, I believe it was by my brother-in-law, Peter Smith, that the saboteur, the word saboteur, comes from, I believe it could be Dutch, it could be French, but I believe it's sabot. And you guys are going to eat me alive on the internet. But the point is, it refers to a shoe.
Okay. What does sabot mean?
That's
shoe?
That's the word for shoe.
Okay.
And it was about in whatever time in Europe this is happening, that workers who were disgruntled would take the sabot, the shoe, and they would throw it into the machinery.
Oh.
To stop the machinery, because they were holding the employer hostage. They were disgruntled. And so the sabot went into the machinery to stop the machinery. It was an inside job.
Wow.
To stop the machinery, halt the means to production. And so that's where the term saboteur came from.
I had no idea.
Yep.
I'm so glad that you kept that piece of information.
It was floating in the back somewhere, and then I knew there was going to be a time, there was going to be a moment where that was going to come in handy. I naturally assumed it was going to be on Jeopardy or Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. There's going to be high stakes. But you friends, you folks, this was the purpose.
Yep.
This was for you.
Wow.
And
Special. Well, thank you.
So we've got saboteur
fossil?
and fossil.
Yeah.
Okay, here's what I've got. There's a person who has broken something that cannot be replaced.
Okay.
That could be a saboteur, and they could have broken a fossil. So I'm just throwing that out there.
Okay. All right. And what's the other element?
There's apparently some medicine that isn't working.
Oh. Okay. Ooh, we've got some good elements here.
Okay.
Ooh.
Mhm.
Okay.
So is the person who broke something that can't be replaced, is that the saboteur? Would you like it to be the saboteur?
It feels like they go together really well.
Okay. Let me throw something out there.
What?
What if the saboteur is like, they're the professional. They are competent. They are slick. They are smart.
Have it all together.
They think of everything.
Okay.
And they've got like an apprentice with them. Or like the boss's nephew, you know?
Okay.
It's a ne'er-do-well.
Okay.
Okay? And while the saboteur has everything put together, then there's this flunky who comes in and he's going to break something that's necessary for the sabotage.
Oh, and so the saboteur almost like puts that person in the position to actually break that thing that cannot be fixed.
I was
Like,
thinking
uses
more
them?
like the person, and this is not how it has to be, but the flunky, they're kind of like a tornado of destruction, you know, where they go in and they mess up the situation, whereas the one guy's professional, the other guy's a klutz.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Ooh, okay. What if that person who breaks the fossil that can't be fixed?
Is that what he's going to break?
Yeah, I think maybe these guys are archaeologists or they're working on maybe
In a museum?
Yeah. What if he's on medication that causes...
What if it was a placebo? What if he's in a drug trial?
Okay.
And he
the
got the
effects are
placebo.
all in his brain?
Yeah.
Like okay.
Or it was supposed to work, but it was just a placebo. It doesn't work.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
So what's the problem that he has to go on the medication for?
Obviously, narcolepsy.
You think that's it?
Yeah.
Okay. So we have a young.
Why does it have to be young?
I don't know.
And who's young?
Okay, let's think this through.
There's
So
some
what
details
does
here.
the saboteur? Okay. Maybe the saboteur is observing the effects of this.
What's happening right
placebo.
now is the connections are being made. The neurons are firing. I'm watching it happen. I'm watching it in your eyes. It's happening
Okay,
right
I'm going
now.
to lose it if you don't let me say it.
So I'm sorry.
So I'm just thinking, what if the saboteur is disgruntled? Is somebody who is not satisfied with the way things are being run at the museum or in this particular...
We need names, by the way.
Okay. I feel like he needs to be like a doctor. He's an archaeologist. Maybe
So
he's the one who...
The saboteur is someone they'd never suspect, right?
Right.
Okay.
Because he perhaps is the one who discovered the fossils.
But the power is too great. Like this would change. This would shake the foundations of human history. He's got to suppress.
Okay. So I'm thinking he is observing this other person who the medication is not working on, and they're having the effects of narcolepsy, right?
Yes.
So
Are they working together?
I think they're working in the same space. So he starts to see this guy is dropping the ball. He is like falling asleep or like dropping things as he falls asleep, whatever it is. And he begins to give that guy the responsibility for...
He's tricking him.
He's tricking him.
So he's like the patsy.
Yes.
Oh.
So this is the saboteur won't get blamed, but he is still
I love it.
Okay.
I love it.
Okay. So what we need names. So I think the archaeologist is like
Doctor.
Like we're just shaking our heads at each other. Doctor Felix.
Dr. Felix.
Freeman.
Felix Freeman?
I don't know.
That's off the top of your head.
Okay.
Dr. Felix Freeman.
All right.
Dr. Freeman. Okay.
And then the young
Age. Dr. Freeman. Age.
I would say in the 50s, in his 50s.
Age 50.
Yeah,
So
he's established.
He's like a PhD.
Yeah.
He's rock and
knowledgeable.
rolling.
He's respected in his field.
Yep. No one would ever suspect. Okay.
And then we've
Dr.
got
Felix Freeman
we've
in
got
his
this
50s.
young
Male.
Got this young little buck who's dealing with narcolepsy and who is desperately wanting to break into this
I'm
difficult
imagining
field.
him. He's like a Jerry Lewis kind of character.
Yeah, but he wants to be a part. Like he wants to be a part of it, and he wants to do well. So, in order to get his narcolepsy under control, he joins this study where they say we have this medication.
We're gonna fix you.
Yeah, and it's a test, like a trial.
What if it was all orchestrated by Dr. Freeman?
What?
Like
So
he knew.
he's like a diabolical,
He is.
evil genius.
Oh yeah, he's like sociopath.
Wow.
Because this discovery that he uncovered that he's sabotaging, it's like you don't take chances. This has got to be suppressed.
Okay. So he sets up this artificial
Study.
medical
Sleep study.
and gives the guy the placebo. The guy thinks that this is going to be taking care of his...
This is the answer to all his problems.
Now he is okay to handle these
He's been
these
okayed
fossils.
by Dr. Freeman.
Yeah.
This guy is a piece of work.
Oh, I hate this guy.
This guy is a slime bag.
And then he clearly... the medication is not working, and he is starting to fall asleep at very important moments, critical moments when he is handling rare fossils.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. The fossil is like, it's a story element. There's fossils around. Whether it is the fossil or it isn't, there's fossils around. They're in a museum or whatever.
Okay.
But let's say whatever he's handling, it like can't be exposed to air or something. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like something that is just like, as soon as it's exposed,
Like
then
pressurized case or whatever.
Some things, exactly.
Oh.
Hermetically sealed.
Okay.
And so this guy is gonna, whatever, screw it up.
What's his name?
So that his name is Paul. Paul Charles.
Or Charles Paul. I mean, really.
Charles Paul.
Could go either
I don't
way.
really like any of those. It doesn't really matter.
Okay.
Doesn't
We can
really
work on that
matter.
later. That's
Yeah.
just a small little element. I thought maybe you would have fun naming him, but that
No, but
backfired.
like,
The pressure got to
Freeman's
you.
got his own name for him. He calls him like
Bucko or like some like condescending nickname or something.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Freeman doesn't think much of this guy.
Okay. But he's manipulating him. So
You know why? Because Freeman is his idol.
Oh, okay. So
And-
Freeman can have his way, basically.
Mhm. He picked this
He
guy
knows.
out. Yeah.
He knows that.
This has been the long con.
Okay.
This has been years in the making.
Well, I don't know. That's
a stretch.
that seems
It doesn't
a stretch.
matter.
Okay. Point is, so what happens then?
Whatever. This guy screws up.
He screws up. He falls asleep
Destroys the
as the hermetically
Yep.
hermetic. Is that what it is?
Hermetically. Yeah.
Hermetically sealed case is as he's transferring or doing something he's supposed to do, and he falls
Exposed to
asleep.
air.
Exposes to air. Ruins it.
Ruins it. Destroyed. All the evidence is destroyed. This guy's found liable. He's fired in disgrace. Tracks are covered. Freeman
And
gets away with it.
Dr. Felix Freeman can't believe that one of his own team members would make such
But
a mistake.
obviously, he'll be exposed for the
Yeah.
degenerate that he is.
Yeah.
And the truth will be told.
Maybe Paul isn't as fumbling and weak as
Oh
we
man,
once thought.
wouldn't that be a twist?
Wow.
Wouldn't that be a twist?
Wouldn't
if he
it?
was acting the whole time, he was on to him the whole time. The saboteur was sabotaged.
Ooh. I don't think it gets much better than that, you guys.
Guys.
That was just like
Guys,
fire.
watch for it. Watch for the book. Watch for the movie. Watch for the sequel. Watch for the miniseries. We're gonna sell this thing.
I feel
6
like we
ways to
say that
Sunday.
every time we do one of these. We're
Well,
always like,
I mean,
this is bound for greatness.
myself, I do see great things on the horizon.
I know that is the case for
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
opportunity.
But that's how it's done, guys. That is the Flow Jam. We want you guys to either be participating with us, to do something similar. When you're getting ready to do something creative, you should do an activity like this that's free form. Grab somebody else, grab a couple people.
we'll create a post with some of these ideas just to kind of get your get some
loose.
ideas flowing and
because if you can get loose with no stakes, when it's all a game or imagination, if you can get loose when it's low stakes, then if you go into that meeting at work, or if you go into something that matters, where you've actually got to perform creatively, you're all loosed up. It's like stretching before the race.
yeah, that's right.
And so you got to get there fast. You got to have that creative edge. This is what gives it to you. So
Yeah, it's just like exercise.
and that's what
Creative
we just
exercise.
did. We are loose. We are ready.
I saw a great quote. A guy named Gary Davis said that the contrast between creative and uncreative people lies more in barriers and uncreative attitudes than in differences in intelligence or thinking styles.
So whatever barriers we think are there are largely self-imposed and can be removed.
Yeah, exactly. It isn't intelligence. It isn't, they're just born a creative person. Now, granted, some people do have tendencies.
Wouldn't you say in most cases that's environmental, that's learned?
It probably is, but I do think that there is something, I think it's a combination of nature and nurture. And I do think that it's something that we can develop and we can build. And we always say this is like a muscle. And so that's essentially why MossyBrain is around, because we want to talk about ways that we can build this muscle.
So if we're talking in terms of sports analogies,
Why would we do that?
well, I'm just going to say, like,
I don't sports.
well, I don't really either.
You don't.
But for the sake of some kind of a visual analogy, if there's a game plan and the coach is talking about the other team and they're going to be here and here and here and here, that's what we're doing right now. We're talking about barriers that stop creativity or inhibit creativity. And this is like the positions of the opposing players. And we're going to talk about this game plan so that we can identify there's a barrier here, a barrier here, a barrier here, a barrier here, so that we can formulate a game plan to avoid those people and get into the end zone of creativity. That's what we're doing.
Yeah, we say the best way to limit those barriers to creativity is to identify them and eliminate them in whatever way that looks like. So, you want to talk about The War of Art?
Yes. Fantastic book. One of our top reads. We're going to be talking much more about this book because it has really been transformative for, I think, both of us. I know it's been big in my life. It's called The War of Art by Stephen Pressfield. Kind of a classic in terms of creative development and for creative professionals. And in this book, he goes deep, talking. The whole first third of the book is all about something called the resistance. And what the resistance is anything that keeps us from reaching our creative goals and creative potential. He lists a lot of manifestations of the resistance. We're not going to go into all of them, but just imagine anything that's keeping you.
And it can be external, which a lot of us understand and know that there are external barriers all the time that stop us from creating.
And just to give some quick examples, that could be physical barriers. It could be
time,
schedule, time, location.
Your children.
Yeah, exactly.
Certain people in your life.
It could be physical distractions, like in terms of concentration, like noise or
not having a space set aside for what you're doing.
Any number of things.
Yeah.
It could be distractions that make you comfortable. So it could be watching too much TV. It could be being distracted by going out with friends.
Or physical things, not feeling well, illnesses or those kinds of limitations that physically.
And none of these are wrong in themselves, but we need to recognize any of these things could be keeping us from being our most creative self or from following our creative pursuits. And so we do need to recognize them, not saying that they're all wrong and bad in themselves, but they are and can be barriers.
And and identifying them as that, because some people might come against barriers and then back down or say, well, you know what, this isn't for me, I guess, or I just don't have the time, or this isn't possible because blah, blah, blah. And there's always reasons that you could find to
not create,
to stay where you are, to be comfortable in the status quo. While some of those might be physical, that's also a mental barrier. That's something that you are allowing to stop you because you don't want to be uncomfortable, or you don't want to overcome a fear that you have. I mean, all of us have those fears, especially when it comes to creating, because it's such a personal and vulnerable expression of ourselves. And so a lot of us have the fear of failure, the fear of rejection, the fear of not being talented or good.
Well, and as crazy as it sounds, some people are afraid of success.
Yeah, that's true.
They're afraid of succeeding and what might come with that and the changes in their life that might come with that. Some people are afraid of, again, crazy as it sounds, they might be afraid of completion. There's all a number of things that people are hung up about that stop them.
Fear of critique, fear of what other people are going to say, fear of feeling and looking like a fraud. I mean, truly, like, how many of us have said, I don't feel good enough to be able to do this.
I don't feel
legitimate. I don't feel talented enough. I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, and I'm acting like I do. Hello? I mean, that's
all feel
all
like
of
that.
us.
We all feel like
that's
that.
us right now, 100%. So, there's countless barriers that each of us face, and we just want to point them out. That essentially, this is to say, recognize those for what they are. They might be legitimate, absolutely, probably most of the time they will be. But is your creativity, is your life taking this creative path worth overcoming some of these barriers and overcoming fear?
Spoiler alert.
It is.
It is.
The answer is yes, it is. And I think that's the point is that we want to make. Don't stop because of the barriers. Understand that and see them for what they are. And again, that doesn't mean that they're all wrong and it's like, get them out of your life, Oh, your kids are getting in the way? we all have these that we live with, and this is a part of our life. But it's finding ways to create within
those parameters.
The parameters that the barriers might create, or that our lives, may create. Some of them we can get rid of, but some of them we have to work around and find ways to work within.
Can we talk about the ages? You were talking about the ages when social stigmas come about. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about that for a minute.
Okay. There is a guy named Paul Torrance who talks about that there's these stages where there's developmental drops in creativity scores for kids. The first one is when they enter kindergarten, and that's because this is when they're kind of introduced to conformity as a rule, and this is important and right. So everyone conforms, and then you're good. The second one would be in fourth grade. They call it the fourth grade slump, and it's kind of a social and cultural phenomenon. He did say that as awareness about creativity and kind of placing more emphasis on it is growing, then that slump is kind of going away. But then again, in seventh grade, they hit this drop in creativity, and that's just adolescent conformity, getting to that age where you really care about being like everyone else. You don't want to be different. You don't want to stand out. You don't want to be unique. That's just a little too hard at that age. So yeah, those are three different drops for kids.
And we've talked about this previously about how creativity is, by our society, is sucked away gradually, but kind of with predictability.
Yes,
because it just doesn't benefit the industrialized machinery of our society. That our society calls for people to be orderly, to be predictable, to do the same thing over and over, to fit the cogs into the system. And when we are creative, when we step outside of that framework, it doesn't work in so many applications. But keep this in mind. The creatives and the people who think different change our society.
That's right.
They move our society forward.
I would say, especially in the educational system as it is set up, conformity is king, and that is what is valued. And you can, even as a parent, I'm ashamed to say there are times when that's what you want for your child. You want them to just fly under the radar. You don't want them to stand out and get in trouble and to be challenging or difficult in some way. And a lot of those things, those are attributes that later in life we would value. Like, we would value them questioning things or thinking of things in a different way, or having a strong opinion or sticking to their ideals. Mm-hmm. And in school, we try to snuff that out because that's difficult.
The school and the workplace.
Yeah.
I mean, it's two sides of the same coin, because all this does not just apply to children. Everybody
I think
can
that's
think
just
of
kind of the foundation we lay.
Absolutely. Everybody can think of a job that they were in that they felt was mindless, that they felt like, whatever they were doing did not matter, and they could be totally interchanged with any other worker with the same result. And so
and I think what's crazy now is that as a child myself, who would have conformed, would have been one of those good kids who did what was expected and really tried to be good and fly under the radar and all those things. Now I'm having to unlearn a lot of that stuff. I'm having to rethink the values placed on, conformity and normalcy and, not disrupting the status quo, all that stuff. And I'm having to realize that, okay, this is a time for me to rethink and relearn some of this stuff. It's great to be different. It's good to be weird. It's good to think about things in a different way. And I feel like with our children that we're taking something away from them that later, hopefully, they're gonna regain, which is just that uniqueness and that kind of creative genius we've talked about that kids are born with, and that as they grow, it starts to get to lessen and to be kind of stripped away. And so we, are hoping that our kids don't lose that, but if they do, that we're able to kind of help them regain it.
And when you say our kids, you're not just talking about our kids.
I am specifically thinking of our children, but also the children of the world.
I was thinking about all the society's children.
Sure,
like the children of this day and age.
Yes, capital O, our kids. Okay. Yes. So anyway, that is something. It's a little sad to think about, but hopefully, as we gain awareness about these stats about creativity, it helps us as parents and educators and whatever way that whatever sphere of influence we have, to place value back on creativity and to understand that that's a God-given gift to these little ones that we want to encourage. And I know, it can be challenging, but it's important. And I don't know, I hope that you and I can learn how to really value and embrace and encourage that in our own children. Absolutely.
Let's just kind of generally go through. I know that you've got some lists of some types of barriers. Mm-hmm. I wanted to just highlight these, run through them so that people can be aware of some of these barriers.
Okay.
That are out there that they may not even be thinking about as, a barrier or a detriment to be considered or avoided.
Okay. Just a broad overview. Learning and habit. What we learn early on in our lives of the way that things have always been done, kind of the ruts that we get stuck in because this is how it's done.
So that's almost like a modality or like a way of doing things or a habit.
Sure.
Right?
And over the years, it becomes really difficult to see new possibilities because this is what
you're entrenched in your ways.
And then, of course, we have rules and traditions. Our social groups that we're a part of, whether it be our family or school system or the corporate world that you're in. I know we'll get into this further. It could be a system of belief. Absolutely, yeah. Whatever social group, those kind of guide the rules and conduct. So you can either be inflexibly, is that a word? It is now. Inflexibly tied to rules, or you can be creativity conscious, which means you're open and receptive and encouraging of new ideas. There's another thing called like perceptual barriers, and that is basically what's called a perceptual set or functional fixedness. It basically means you see an item and you see one way of using that item. You see it as it was intended or as you've used it, and you don't see the possibilities that are involved. It's basically the reverse of innovative thinking.
You're so smart.
You were right. I didn't write this information, guys, but
doesn't she sound smart?
I do like to sound smart. Yeah,
I love it.
So you're used to seeing things in one way. It keeps us from getting a complete or accurate view of the world because old habits can interfere with new perceptions. And
we revert to what's comfortable.
Yeah.
We revert to what's known and what's comfortable.
So there's a creativity recommendation that says make the familiar strange. So an example would be, so you that would mean like see common things. In the common things, new ways or new ideas or new connections in common things. So for instance, if you had to solve a problem that would involve the use of a string. If you saw a string hanging on the wall, you would see that and say, oh, I could use that. But if you saw that same string attached to a sign hanging on the wall, so it's holding the sign up, if you had this kind of functional fixedness or whatever, you wouldn't see, oh, I could take that string off and use it to solve my problem.
So the potential of the string independent of the sign.
Exactly.
You would not see that. You would only see the use of its intention as it's being used right then.
Right. So if we're able to make the familiar strange, meaning see everything as it could be instead of just as it is right now, then that helps us to see things in a new way.
Love it.
So, and then we also have cultural barriers, could be social influence, expectations, conformity, fear of being different. As we grow up, we learn that it's good to be correct and right and do things just so, and it's bad to make mistakes.
Quiet.
Yeah, exactly.
Fall in line.
And then, there's emotional barriers that kind of make us freeze up.
And these are internal.
Yes. Yeah. Anger, fear, anxiety, fear of failure or being different, or criticism, fear of criticism and ridicule, fear of rejection, even fear of supervisors, fear, like shaky self-esteem, all that stuff. And basically they say, like, just first ask what the problem is and then ask what we can do about it. Just kind of break it up. What's the problem? What can we do about it? So yeah, those are some barriers, just from an academic paper that I read called Barriers to Creativity and Creative Attitudes by Gary Davis.
I can't recommend The War of Art highly enough.
Yes.
Because when you read that book and you read that first section that's all about the resistance, then your eyes are kind of open to the fact that it's not about the universe conspiring against you, because I believe that, the universe or creativity or whatever is conspiring on the side of creation. But recognize that the resistance, the barriers to creativity exist in here.
He's pointing at his heart.
I'm pointing it into my heart. They exist inside of us, and we are the gatekeepers to our own creativity. We can point our fingers and we can blame other people and we can blame external forces, but at the end of the day, resistance is generated internally and lives in our minds.
And it will always be there. I mean, you might think if I fight it, it's going to get the hint and go away, but there will always be barriers.
Yep.
But to use a cheesy analogy, I would say creativity and living creatively is like a treasure, and it's going to take some effort to get it. It is hard work. It takes effort to fight that resistance that comes against us in countless ways. But the benefit, the reward is so worth fighting it and just really being intentional about how we live.
When we are able to overcome the resistance and these barriers, and we have that flash of creativity, we have, that writing session where we, get out 10 pages, or we have that, incredible afternoon of painting, or we are able to have, this wonderful, wonderful jam session with those musicians and improv this incredible, progression or whatever it is. We have those flashes of those moments. It's not the complete picture. It's not the Mona Lisa, but it's that flash where the creative factors came through, you pushed through the resistance, and you got to that creative flow where the magic happens. Those are the moments that keep you going.
And looking at it like a journey instead of just a destination. Like, I did it. I did that creative thing, and here I am. I'm done. No, it's a journey. And sometimes you're going to see more of that flash, and sometimes you might not see as much. Sure. But the point is, you're doing the hard work and making the effort to overcome those barriers and to invest in building your creativity, and that is what it's all about.
Yep. So on the road to the most creative year yet. We're making dedicated time and space to be creative. That's what we're doing first. Second, we're limiting the barriers to creativity. We've got more coming your way.
That's right.
On future episodes, we're going to talk about the roadmap to having your best, most creative year yet. And I'm getting pumped up. I'm getting excited talking about this. I'm getting excited about our own creative journey and the potential for us, but I'm excited for everybody who's watching or listening to this, that you can have a light bulb moment where you say, it's worth it. I'm going to do this. I'm going to commit to being creative. I'm going to limit the barriers to my creativity, and I'm going to look for those flashes where the magic is happening.
And as always, if you want to learn more, go to MossyBrain.com. We have
head on down there.
Tons of blogs, and we're just getting more and more content every day.
We just want you to be a part of this community.
Absolutely.
Be interactive with us. Find us on Facebook. Find us on Twitter.
Yep.
Talk to us. Engage with us. We want to hear your story, and we want to celebrate and encourage you along this journey
and learn from you. So, thank you for joining us on episode 3.
Another one in the books.
That's right.
All right.
All right. We'll see you next time.
Catch you later. Be creative.